library time.
You're going to vacuum up that squirrel! There's just no predicting what kind of sentences you might say, thought Flora. For instance, who would ever think you would shout, "You're going to vacuum up that squirrel!" Oh, hello. Welcome back. I was just exploring some of my favorite chapter books. Today, I've pulled Newbery Award winners, like Flora and Ulysses. Oh, so good! When you see a Newbery Medal sticker on the front of a book, it's a sure sign that you're in for something excellent. Many of my favorite books have this sticker on the front. Wait, what's that? You're not sure about what the Newbery Medal is? Let me explain. But for that, we have to go back in time. Here we are, back in time in the 1700s, before the American Revolution, across the ocean in England. 100 years before illustrator Randolph Caldecott was born, children were still learning to read on hornbooks, paddles that had their ABCs and lessons on them. These were soon to be replaced by fun little pocket-sized books created by John Newbery.
Balderdash, John Newbery and the Boisterous Birth of Children's Books. Written by Michelle Markel, illustrated by Nancy Carpenter. Welcome! This book's for you. Every page, every picture, every word, and even its letters are designed for your pleasure. Lucky, lucky reader, be glad it's not 1726. In those days of powdered wigs and petticoats, England was brimming with books, books of pirates and monsters and miniature people, tales of travels and quests and shipwrecks and crimes. At the fairs, in the market stalls, in the bookshop windows were hundreds of wonderful books. But not for children. Oh no, children had to read preachy poems and fables, manuals that told them where to stand, how to sit, not to laugh, and scores of other rules. Because the future champion of children's books was just a lad. His name was John Newbery. The boy lived on a farm but fancied reading more than forking hay, so upon coming of age, he set off to work for a printer. John got a kick out of type sticks and type stands and chases and coins. He came to love galleys and presses and the smell of fresh ink. As soon as he was able, John became a publisher himself. Then he went big time. He moved to London, center of the bookselling trade. Heart of the book marketplace in St. Paul's churchyard, he found a place for a store. Brilliant! The streets were bustling with tradesmen, doctors, lawyers, clerks, and many other eager readers. John wanted to publish fine books for the whole lot of them, and for their children. He knew the youngsters were hungry for stories. Many boys and girls handed coppers to street hawkers for ugly chapbooks of fairy tales, or for chopped-up versions of grown-up books. John liked children. Why shouldn't they have delightful books of their own? John, what were you thinking? What about the parents? Many mums and dads worried that if their little nippers read fun books, they'd turn into wild beasts. Balderdash! Reading should be a treat for children. That's what one famous philosopher wrote, and John agreed. So did two other publishers. One issued a book with alphabet rhymes and well-known stories, and the other printed itty-bitty books about animals, plants, and local buildings. John wanted his first book for children to be irresistible. There'd be letters from Jack the Giant Killer. There'd be pictures of Pitch and Hustle, Hoop and Hide, Blind Man's Bluff, and other children's games. Plus ABCs, proverbs, and other classical material. And for extra punch, a message to mums and dads. He ordered gilt floral paper for the covers and titled his creation A Little Pretty Pocketbook. Price of book alone, 6 pence, with a ball or pin cushion, 8 pence, the notice read. A book and a toy? Why hadn't anyone else thought of that? Then John set his bright books in the window of his store and wondered, will the parents buy them? Are they too cheerful? The children gobbled them up like plum cakes. John thought if they liked fun, attractive books, they'd probably like a magazine too. Grown-ups read magazines. Why shouldn't children? A magazine with rhymes, riddles, recipes, and stories, adorned with crisp copperplate engravings. Working in the back of his bookshop, or chatting with his chums at the tavern, John's mind bubbled with more ideas. For older children, he printed books about arithmetic, geography, astronomy, and other subjects, including one taught by a pretend boy philosopher named Tom Telescope. Then John came up with his most ingenious product for youngsters yet, a novel. Grown-ups were reading novels. Why shouldn't the little masters and ladies? One long, luscious story to savor for several days. The history of Little Goody Two-Shoes is about a raggedy orphan who is left to wander the roads. Despite many misfortunes, the girl betters herself. She carves her own alphabet blocks and teaches poor children. She strolls around with a dog, a lamb, and various birds that she has rescued and educated. Ralph, her pet raven, even writes poems. Though she starts off penniless, Goody ends up marrying a country squire rich enough to own a coach and six. A coach and six? In those days, that was like riding in a luxury car. Goody went from rags to riches without a fairy godmother. She did it through study, hard work, and kindness. You can too, the book was saying, and John believed it. Goody Two-Shoes became a smash hit both in England and across the ocean in America. To this day, its author is a mystery. All the books John published for his little friends, as he called the young readers, were written anonymously or by people with silly made-up names. Another of John's books was about a tumultuous fair, and its dedication was signed, you know who. But everyone knew who. Who else had a shop that sold ABC books, gift books, books about Tom Thumb and Giles Gingerbread, books of jokes and riddles, books of science, history, and geography that were loved so hard, that were thumbed so often, they came apart at the spine. Who else sold thousands of copies, inspiring other publishers to start making delightful books for young people? John Newbery, the father of children's literature. Huzzah! The grand design of the nurture of children is to make them strong, hearty, healthy, virtuous, wise, and happy. John Newbery, from a little pretty pocketbook. Here at the back of the book, we find my favorite, a bibliography. In the back of the book, in the author's notes, she references a book Newbery published called The Renowned History of Giles Gingerbread, where a baker teaches his son to read by making letters and books out of gingerbread. It reads, "See here is little Giles with his gingerbread book, for which he doth long and at which he doth look, till by longing and looking he gets it by heart, and then eats it up as we eat up a tart." Newbery knew then what we practice now, that if kids have books they love and read over and over, that they'll consume them like dessert and be hungry readers. This is perhaps a reason that 155 years later, the American Library Association created the first children's book award in the world and named it after John Newbery. Here is the medal with author Eleanor Estes' name engraved for her book Ginger Pie. The real medal then becomes a sticker that is placed on the book for all time. There are also a few Newbery honor books awarded as well, which is why you'll see silver medals on some of the books. These medals are awarded every year to American authors. They're to encourage original, creative work in the field of books for children. I think John Newbery would be delighted indeed to read the books his name certifies as excellent.
The end. See you back in the future.